Directly from Senn High School Studio 231, this is Senn TV Season 3. Starring Cassandra Cabrera, Cameron Fleeman, Hassan Gordon, Kendall Jackson Jr., Philip Johnson White, Bill Siddiqui, Paula Trejo, Kayla Williams, and featuring the members of our broadcast journalism wonders. This episode, the cast of Midnight Sun visits Senn. Alumni Senn TV crew pays a visit, highlights of the staff versus students basketball game, and many other stories. Now, let's take it to our first anchor, the great Queen, Cameron Fleeman.
Action!
On this very stage, Bella Thorne and Patrick Schwarzenegger were here to talk about their movie, Midnight Sun. Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Patrick Schwarzenegger, and I am playing Charlie in the new film Midnight Sun, and this is my beautiful co-star.
Bella Thorne! I play Katie Price. This is our director!
Beautiful director. Coming out March 23rd, guys. Go see it.
I swear!
Bella Thorne and Patrick Schwarzenegger came to Senn to promote their new movie Midnight Sun and to discuss the filmmaking process. They took pictures and had interactions with most of our students. Scott Spear, Patrick Schwarzenegger, and Bella Thorne come up on stage for a little Q&A session with our very own Cleo Shine.
Until he realizes this is the best thing that could ever happen to him in his life, because then he falls in love with this beautiful girl that just regains his confidence and allows him to be even the next steps in his life. So, you know, I trained by doing a lot of swimming stuff, and as far as the relationship goes, working with someone like her and just developing our friendship and on-screen and off-screen while we were in Vancouver filming, that helped me a lot.
It is freezing, and we actually go in the water, in the ocean, freezing everything off. You know what I'm saying? Just like shaking in our boots over here, or as we were in our underwear. That's right, we get in our underwear in this movie, guys.
Go see it.
Our very own Kendall Jackson Jr. had the amazing opportunity to interview the actors and the director.
It was amazing. I mean, the crowd was so energetic and loud, and you know, I haven't been back to high school for a few years, so for me it was awesome. I kind of missed the whole locker situation coming up and down the hallways, but it was obviously great to be here and to be in Chicago in general.
And I literally love you guys. First of all, the style at this school, you better work. Oh my goodness. And just like the energy, so full of life.
Thanks for watching Senn TV.
Hey, what's up everyone? Kevin Coval decided to pay a visit here at Senn, sharing to us with some of his unique poetry as well as answering the students' questions. Why don't we take a look?
Felt like a secret society of wizards and wordsmiths, magicians meant to find you that you were meant to find, like rappers I listened to and memorized in history class taught specifically to me. for me. And sometimes you'd see a kid whisper to himself in the corner of a bus seat, and you asked if he rhymed, and traded the verse like a fur pelt, trapping the...
Senn had a special guest speaker on February 26. Kevin Coval, one of our founders of Chicago's Louder Than the Bomb Festival, paid a visit to our freshmen. He showcased his unique poetry and welcomed questions from students. Let's put our fingers together and snap this story into action.
So what does it mean to visit like a high school that is so diverse like Senn High School?
I love it, man. I mean, it's what Chicago looks like, you know, and so it's refreshing. The way that the city is structured and planned is intentionally trying to limit the interaction between working peoples and between communities of color. And so I think the space of this school is potentially very powerful, especially if, we continue to have real discussions about why Chicago is as hyper-segregated as it is. What is the real history of being here? And it's powerful to look into the audience and to see that there is the city reflected in its myriad of beauty,
Here, folk move. Turn the foot, Roadrunner and Michael Jackson. Up rock on amphetamine. Dance in the war zone. And the war on drugs.
I think it's important to be interested in the stories of others, right? And so I think part of what is also interesting is to ensure that your own story is also told, particularly by a culture, a society, a country that continues to overlook and undervalue the stories of the many, right? It's part of the reason why history is written as it is because it's often only told by those who are in power. And I believe in the power of the many and not the power of the few. And so I also believe that, the multitude of stories that we have access to, that we see in this auditorium or that we see in the city are important to share.
Or you want them both together? Okay, we're doing two of them, I guess.
We even had some special performances from two Louder Than the Bomb poets, Cleo Shine and Victor Mansoni.
Searching for a breath of cool air amongst a cloud of smog, and middle schoolers are vultures awaiting my demise with a pick at the remains, but I can escape the smog when I escape the city that lives within the 3-story high beige building full of scantrons and scaffolding, because 12 years old is the escape. Escape from schemas and stereotypes, expectations and evaluations. 12 years old is a transformation to new sexualities and explorations. 12 years old is bittersweet.
When the women in my family break, you can see their spirits 9/11 to their feet. You can see them take step after step over their rubble. The destruction spread far and wide across their bodies. The women in my family will implode and search for their pieces forever.
I feel like if, as educators, we are continuing to teach that there's only one form of English, then that's shame on us. Do you know what I mean? If your educators or your teachers are assuming that there's only one standard way to say a sentence or a word, then that is limited the imagination and the reality of how languages are said and explained. And so I believe that each story is of great value and could ultimately change the way we think about the whole society. And so I think if we aren't in the business of telling our own story, of listening to the stories of others, then we're really missing out on the diversity, the beauty of what citizenry goes through.
A special thank you to Kevin Coval for sharing the uplifting words, and here's hoping for much success in the future.
Over a couple weeks ago, Senn had the honor of giving an exclusive tour to Loyola Chicago's Provost. In this tour, we discussed the importance of the partnership and also how amazing the partnership is. Let's take a look. Loyola's newest appointed provost, Margit Callahan, visited Senn High School for the first time on February 28th. During her visit, she talked with student leaders about their experience with the Loyola and Senn partnership, now in its 6th year. After the meeting, Provost Callahan was given a tour led by Principal Beck and other students. I had the honor of speaking to Provost Callahan about her feelings towards visiting Senn for the first time and her look on the partnership.
It's really good for me to be able to actually experience what our faculty and students tell us about Senn. We hear such terrific feedback, not only about the students and the faculty and the staff here at Senn and how welcoming they are for our own students. It was great for me to have that same sense today, feeling that.
Do you guys know what a provost is?
A what?
Provost? No clue. No. Like a representative? Nobody knows.
Sounds like a food.
It sounds like what?
A food.
See, there you go. So I'm responsible for all the academic initiatives, all the schools, the dean's supporting students. So I think it's an exceptional partnership because both groups, both Senn and the university, really benefit in different ways. For us, Senn is a wonderful place for our student teachers and our faculty to explore new ways of developing as educators. But I think we've also made a contribution to Senn, to the students, to some of the programming, to really the development of excellence in education, which Senn has become known for. And I think Loyola had a little bit to do with that.
Oh, thank you.
Enjoying it?
Yeah, it's fun. We did a little demo over there. You heat up some water, and then you put it in the cold water, and what it does is it sucks up all the water right there. So originally that just had like a little puddle of water, but when I heated it and turned it over, it sucked up all that water. So now we're trying to answer why that
We
happened.
thank Provost Callahan for the visit to Senn and hope to continue a nurturing relationship with Loyola for the years to come. My name is Kendall Jackson Jr., reporting for Senn TV.
Hey guys, today we have another profile piece from KS Otana on Christian Arredondo. Why don't we take a look?
I've been hiding it like for 3 years to my parents. My name is Christian Arredondo, and this is my sensational story.
Hi, my name is Tashkia Sultana, and I profiled an exchange student here at Senn named Christian Arredondo. As an exchange student from Chile, Christian feels more free here in the United States than he did in Chile, since Chile is a very conservative country. I wanted to document him about his journey to overcoming all the discrimination and struggle he faced growing up in Chile.
I applied to this organization called YFU, Youth for Understanding. And this organization is in charge of like giving teenagers an opportunity to go to other countries and study in high schools over there, and having like an experience in other countries. Throughout my life, I was very interested on film, on filmmaking and everything. So I wanted to be a filmmaker, and I found film classes over here, and I was like, I'll go for it, and it's been awesome. And my friends, I was the first people that I've told first, because I knew how would they react, and I knew how they're gonna behave. In that moment when I went to the gay pride and my parents knew about it, and they told me like, hey, you shouldn't do this, like this is no good for you, they might kill you. But now that I came here and I realized about everything that surrounded me back in Chile, and I see Chile from another perspective, I could say like, yeah, they were right. And it was like a strong feeling when I realized in this moment, because I was like, oh my God, like I had so much hate in a moment when they told me this. But like now I just realized that things aren't easy for people like me back at Chile. Now that I was here, I'm being more outgoing somehow. I'm more free to talk about more stuff that I didn't used to talk about. That might affect me a lot when I go back to Chile. So coming here, I didn't know the limits of some things, you know? I didn't know anything about like how diverse is the culture here, how there's a lot of people that are very different, and sometimes they can be either good or either bad. For me, it was a mix of both. Good because I could relate more to other people, but bad because I didn't know what were my limits. My mind, my behaving It doesn't have any limits right now, just being myself. Here, teenagers, in the United States, teenagers are they're like so open-minded somehow, and they're like very independent somehow. Like, they don't care about what you're doing, they don't care about what you think. If you're gay, if you're a lesbian, if you're whatever, they're okay with it. And back in Chile, teenagers are like, they want to know about everything, about everyone. And I think a lot of teenagers come from very strict families. It's either because of this sexist thought, like machista, I would say, or maybe because of religion. That's also a very powerful motive of homophobia. So if I was with a teenager in my position, like back in the closet, I would say to that person, just be patient, be strong, and not everything that society says it's correct. Stereotypes are not always true. So if you don't fit in anywhere else, just keep going.
Our Senn TV alumni came back and gave us a quick update on their lives and what college life is like. Let's take a look.
So I go to Columbia College now, it's downtown Chicago. I am currently studying to be a cinematography major, so I mess with the camera and stuff, and it's really fun. I take a lot of classes, very long classes, all production based, so I'm always making something. Yeah, that's basically about it. Studying a lot.
I go to Concordia University. It's like on the west side, and I study pre-pharmacy.
So I attend Roubaix College of Loyola University, and I'm a communications major. I take a lot of communications classes. I talk all day, as always.
Compared to all my other classes, this is the only work I think that's really relates to what I do over there, because here I made videos and stuff all the time, and I would always have to edit them, and I'd have to get something turned in by a specific due date, like set weeks in advance, just like now in college. And just the workload that I would get in this class really helped me out. It's not, I think it was worse here than it is in college, but it's just, the projects are harder in college.
When I was in this class, we had due dates for everything. In college, it's the same, but I fall behind, but then I always like contact my teachers or professors and let them know that I'll turn it in a different day, or that I have stuff going on, and they work with me just like Mrs. C used to work with us.
So with working in admissions, I get to talk to people, I get to make phone calls. So anchoring for like 2 years straight, and being able to talk is really like a big deal there, because people ask me like the strangest questions and I can answer them. Or when I'm giving tours, I know how to say the right things, and like I can speak like well enough for people to understand what I'm saying. I don't speak as fast as I used to, so I think that's a great thing that journalism has done.
Make sure to pick something that you like and are comfortable with, because it'll help a lot. Like for me, I wanted to do something that had to do with science, and I wanted to help people out. So I was like, okay, I like science, I like math, what should I choose? And I was like, I'll go for pre-pharmacy, because when I go to like Walgreens or when I go to get my medicine, I'm like, I want to help somebody get better, and I want to like, be a part of the community. So do what you love.
Last year, I was honored to produce Mr. Laser's Macbeth production, and it was an amazing experience. This year, he's doing it with the new class, and Oscar Marquez was there reporting.
the reason that we do a remix is students oftentimes come to me saying, oh, I don't really understand Shakespeare. I don't see why he's relevant. Why do we got to read this old guy? But Shakespeare really wrote for the human in the universal sense. And once students start to delve into the themes of his works, they start to realize, like, oh, a lot of the stuff that he's dealing with in his plays, these things relate to my life. These things are happening today. Macbeth, especially, being a play about corruption and greed and ambition, many of those things relate to things that students see in their daily lives, things that are on the news, politicians we have today. And once students kind of crack into those themes, they start to make connections. And so the point of the remix is to get them to start taking Shakespeare's world and remixing it with something that might be more relatable to teens. And so the really creative idea that this group came up with was thinking about how Macbeth and his transformation into an insane person by the end of the play, how that kind of represents like the shift from disco in the 70s to heavy metal in the 80s. And that was totally a really original, like, creative way to express that shift in the play, is thinking in terms of musical genres and the way that in musical history, disco kind of became dead, and the innocence of disco gave way to kind of the angst and like the aggression of heavy metal in the 80s. And that represents, for this group, it represented the shift that we see in Macbeth, the shift that we see in Lady Macbeth as they become corrupted by the witches. So we had students close read the text. We had students come up with these themes on their own. 3 different groups pitched them. The heavy metal pitch won, and we've been working on, we then had that team become the leaders, and the leaders of that team split into set, costume, and directing and acting. And so those groups simultaneously over the last 2 weeks have been working on each of their pieces, and today's the big day. We're going to put it all together into the play. We're going to see the set, costume, and acting all together. And they've really done an amazing job of bringing this heavy metal theme to life. Like there's so much detail that they put into the set and the costumes and the acting too. And I think you guys are really going to enjoy what you see.
Her eyes are open. Okay, but listen, shut. Look, close your open hands. Hard, she speaks.
Out, damn spot! Out, I say! Hell is murky. Who would have thought this old man to have so much blood in him?
You mark that? Go to. You have known what you should not.
She has spoiled what she should not. I'm sure of that. Heavens know what she has known.
Here's the smell of blood still. All the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten this hand. Oh, come. Give me your hand. What's done cannot be undone. To bed, to bed, to bed.
So how do you guys came up with the design?
I used the internet for reference. I searched up heavy metal, and I just used that as reference, and I just used my own imagination to create like the designs and like the details of like on the pants, and use the belt, as a dramatic thing. So yeah.
She did a great job on the artwork. I didn't do this. It's all her.
So not my best, but it was something. It was just a sketch, so I guess.
How do you guys came up with the set?
So basically, how we came up with the set is, since it's heavy metal, we chose like an all black background, and basically that's connected to heavy metal because it's like dark themed skull, and the skull and bones, and then the other drawing, like it represents like how like it's like dark, like since it's dark, so it's like basically like to compare to Macbeth, it showed like how in Macbeth it was like a dark scene, So the heavy metal connects with that.
So basically when we came up with the set, it was the disco and then it was the heavy metal, and the heavy metal represented the witch's forest, and in the witch's forest there was like the heavy metal trees, the symbols and the stereos and all of that stuff, and that represents like when Lady Macbeth goes insane and all of that.
Lady Macbeth, if you see in her movie, check it out. You can see the blood in her hand. That can show that she's going insane while, you know, everyone else is seeing her as like, oh, she doesn't really have blood on her hands. You can see her just washing her hands multiple times. That's trying to show that she's going insane, because she's the one who's showing it.
Disco represented the calmness in the beginning of the movie with Lady Macbeth. Towards the end of the movie, heavy metal represents the insanity that Lady Macbeth then withheld inside of her character, and how crazy she was getting and mentally unstable.
All right, so I'm here in the gym. You know, we just had the students versus faculty team game. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I just made a shot. Now let's see what the students or the teachers did in that game. Let's go find out.
Shortly after the basketball season ended, we all waited. The one game that didn't matter, but mattered in terms of pride. The students versus faculty game. Let's get into it. On your screen, you have Coach Walsh, a somewhat intimidating figure to say the least, driving in for an easy layup against a paltry defense. Quick cut to number 23, Juwan Williams with the splash. Once again, the defense is terrible, but a three is a three, so just bear with me. Next play, Vivian gets blocked.
Boy, if you don't...
And that turns into an easy fast break score. Meanwhile, again, number 15 on the faculty hits a quick jumper with ease. Now, for this next part, all I gotta say is stop it. You played yourself. I'll let the video speak for me. Anyways, back to the action. Seems like most of the faculty baskets come from fast breaks. Seeing how a fast break involves sprinting, I'm quite surprised at how good the old blood fared with the young. Note that Coach Walsh is doing most of the running though, scoring in transition with ease. That was the end of the first quarter, and 8 minutes into the second, the score is tied at 37-37 after Daytwan Smith's corner specialist free ball. After a silly turnover from Marcus, Juwan Williams is clear of the whole defense to dunk it down with authority. Just kidding. Luckily, number 5 of the girls basketball team rebounds it and scores to clear up that mess. Michael now gets into action as it begins raining threes for the students, especially favoring that corner. I'm telling you, 2K badges are real. Now, Mr. Sevchuk drops a dime to a fellow teammate who floats it up and in. Next, that same man takes it coast to coast for the easy layup. Once again, I swear the defense in this game is worse than Ben Simmons' jump shot. Sean then takes it up the court for the students, with Wash daring him to come to the paint, to which he obliged with a floater over his outstretched hands. Now the moment we've all been waiting for. The Hawk, straight out of Senn TV, icy pass into the basket and scores an easy 2. So easy, we got to see it 3 times in slow-mo. Plus, it was only his only points of the game, so there's that too. But anyways, Jawan Williams then redeems himself after a botch jump with a smooth Euro step around his defender to flip it up and in. But now I'm going to take a break and let you listen to the natural sounds of the game. So here you are. Game being tight all throughout, it was time for someone to step up and come away with the win. Armand Price tried to use his height to his advantage and take it up and in, but to no avail as he put too much power into it and it bounces off in the faculty possession. At this point, the students have no choice but to foul, and the faculty begins to celebrate, albeit early, preparing victory. Jawan Williams comes down the court with about 6 seconds left and jacks up a 3, but it rims off.
Almost had it. You gotta be quicker than that.
One more chance is given for the students, but the ball going for Noah Chapman is well defended, and the game is over. The faculty triumph over the students, 83-82.
Philip, that's only great. I wonder,
Slip it.